I used to think pride was something other people got to feel. People who were brave, people who didn't stutter when they said who they were, people who didn't look over their shoulder before holding someone's hand. I thought pride was for the loud, the fearless, the already accepted, not for people like me. People who survived by staying quiet. For years I told myself, maybe it's better if no one knows, because if no one knew, no one could leave. But the truth is, hiding isn't safety. It's just another kind of loneliness. And the first time I felt proud, it wasn't because the world finally accepted me. It was because, for the first time, I finally accepted myself. Before I understood what pride meant, I spent years trying to earn it. As if being myself was something that needed permission. I grew up in a place where everyone knew everyone, and no one ever talked about people like me. If they did, it was in whispers, jokes that ended too quickly, comments that made my stomach twist. So I learned to pretend. I laughed at the right times, dated boys I wasn't in love with, smiled through conversations that made me feel invisible. The truth lived somewhere deep inside me, a quiet voice that said, "This isn't you." But I buried it, because every time I let it rise, I felt the weight of everyone else's expectations pressing it back down. And that's the thing about pretending. You can only do it for so long before you start to forget what's real and what's performance. I used to look at people who were out and proud and think, that'll never be me, because I wasn't brave enough, because I was scared that if I told the truth, my world would fall apart. But one summer day, everything shifted. It was late June. Hot, loud, endless. The kind of day where the air sticks to your skin and time moves slower. I was walking home from work, my headphones in, the same playlist I always used to drown out my thoughts. But that day, something different slipped through the music. Drums, laughter, a rhythm that made the ground feel alive. I followed the sound until I saw it. A crowd spilling onto the street. Flags waving in the air, people shouting and dancing. It was a pride parade. I didn't know what to do. I froze on the sidewalk, my heart pounding, my feet wanting to move but afraid to take that first step. There were couples holding hands, friends with rainbow paint on their cheeks, signs that said things like "Love is love" and "You belong." And then, I saw her, a woman in a white tank top with short pink hair. Laughing, spinning, alive. Across her chest in bold black letters it said, "Lesbian and proud." She looked happy in a way I didn't know was possible. Not happy because of someone else, happy because of herself. And standing there, sweating in the sun and trying not to cry, I realized I'd been starving for that kind of joy. The kind that isn't polite, the kind that doesn't apologize, the kind that says, "I am who I am, and I'm not sorry." I didn't talk to her. I didn't even smile. I just watched until the crowd disappeared down the street. But something in me shifted that day. Something small, but irreversible. Because once you've seen freedom, you can't unsee it. That night, I went home and stared at myself in the mirror. The same mirror I'd avoided for years. I could still hear the music from earlier echoing in my head. I looked myself in the eyes and whispered, "I'm gay." It was almost nothing. Just a few syllables spoken into an empty room. But to me, it felt like an earthquake. The first time I said it, my voice broke. The second time, I cried. The third time, I smiled through the tears. It didn't make everything perfect, but it was the first time I felt real. The first time I didn't need to hide from my own reflection. I wish I could say I felt instant relief. But honesty has its own kind of aftermath. The next morning I woke up scared. Not of being gay, but of what would happen if anyone else knew. When I came downstairs, my mom noticed the small rainbow sticker on my water bottle. She looked at it, then looked at me. She didn't say anything at first. She just kept cooking. Like she needed to think about how to breathe in this new world. Finally she asked, "Is there something you want to tell me?" My throat went dry. For a second I wanted to lie. To say it was just a sticker. To go back to the safety of pretending. But I remembered that girl at Pride. The one who looked like freedom. The one who didn't apologize. So I said it, quietly but clearly. Yeah, I like girls. And she froze, then sighed, and finally said, I think I already knew. There was no speech. No dramatic embrace, just a long pause. And then she added, I just don't ever want you to feel like you have to hide from me. And that was my twist. Because all this time, I'd been scared of her rejection, when what she was waiting for was my honesty. She wasn't shocked. She wasn't angry. She just wanted me to be okay. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. After that morning, the world didn't suddenly become easier. There were still people who didn't understand. Still whispers. Still moments of hesitation. But something fundamental had changed in me. I wasn't scared of my own truth anymore. And that made everything else less powerful. For so long I thought pride was about celebration. Rainbows, marches, flags, parties. But I realized pride isn't about how loud you are. It's about how honest you can be. Pride is being able to say, this is me, and not flinch. It's walking into a room and not shrinking yourself to fit someone else's comfort. It's the quiet kind of bravery. The kind that starts with one simple truth. I deserve to exist exactly as I am. And once you believe that, no one can take it from you. That's what pride gave me. Not noise, not attention, but peace. It's funny. People think being queer means you live in constant chaos. But for me, it was the first time I felt calm, because I wasn't at war with myself anymore. If you're listening right now, and you're still hiding, I want you to know, I've been there. I know what it's like to feel like you're two people, the one the world sees, and the one you actually are. I know what it's like to stare at your reflection, and wish you could change it, just to make life easier, but I also know what it feels like to finally stop pretending, to breathe for the first time without fear, to look in the mirror and think, oh, there I am. You might think you have to wait until you're ready. But here's the truth. You'll never feel ready. You'll just feel tired. And that's when it's time. Because pride doesn't start when the world accepts you. It starts the moment you accept yourself. Your coming out journey doesn't have to look like mine. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't even have to be public. Maybe your first moment of pride will be whispering the truth to your best friend, or wearing a small rainbow pin on your jacket, or saying I'm gay out loud in your empty room, just to see how it feels. That counts. That matters. Because every little act of truth is a rebellion against the shame that tried to silence you. And when you finally stop apologizing for who you are, you'll realize you were never broken. You were just waiting to breathe. So if you're watching this, and you're somewhere between fear and freedom, I want you to remember this. You don't owe the world your silence. You owe yourself peace. The first time you feel proud might not be in a crowd. It might be in the quiet. The soft, trembling kind of pride that no one sees but you. But that's still pride, and it's enough. If my story found you today, if it made you feel a little less alone, leave a comment. Tell me your truth. Or just say, I'm still figuring it out. Because that's enough too. And if you want to be part of a space where lesbian stories, queer stories, and real voices are seen and celebrated, hit subscribe. You belong here. You're safe here. And you don't have to hide anymore.